Welcome to the Focused Fundraiser. This is where we get to discuss how to focus on the right fundraising practices with fundraisers who are in the trenches doing the fundraising. Because something that we believe is doing more is the enemy of focusing on what matters most. So we discuss that here. And today I am joined for the second time by Erin Davison. Erin is a nonprofit leader in Louisiana. She runs and helps nonprofits build systems and relationships that fuel mission success. Erin, welcome back to the conversation.
Hi, nice to be back. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Start us off for those that might not have listened to your first episode. Share a bit about yourself and your path into the nonprofit sector.
So my path in the nonprofit sector was not planned by all means. And I know it's funny. I think when I speak with other nonprofit leaders, we all kind of have that same sort of fell into this space, really enjoy this space. I love nonprofit work because it fuels my passion for business and growth opportunities and strategic planning and all that stuff that goes with the business part of the nonprofit. But it also fuels my heart, my mission work. I love being able to help a nonprofit fulfill their goals, objectives, scale, but also have a vision of growth mindset when in a world that sometimes you don't see that growth mindset because you're working day to day in the mission oriented work. And so I've come up through the trenches of the nonprofit space and wore many different hats like we all do in the space of mission work. But my favorite thing to do is to work with nonprofits and scale their vision. And that means hone in on what their footprint is, where is their strengths within their mission work, and then provide support to them that shows them it is scalable, it's doable. It takes a lot of hard work. You got to roll up your sleeves, but the community rallies around nonprofits that have a vision to better their community surrounding them as well. So that's what I love to do in the space.
Well, I'm excited for you to give your advice freely here. So I hope fundraisers are tuning in and listening because you have a lot of good things to say. It's a new year. So I'm curious to know. So New Year's often are the chance to set down tasks that we've carried that maybe no longer are needed or are working. So I'm curious to know, what is a fundraising habit that you are intentionally not carrying into this new year, even though maybe it once served you well?
Fundraising habit number one that I am not carrying into the new year that I suggest that others don't carry is the reactionary approach to fundraising. And that means we see it at the end of year giving from November 1st through the end of December. We are recouping, we're revamping, we are reaching out to donors who haven't given yet that year. We're reevaluating what fundraisers worked last year, like what was the good, the bad, and the unbelievable. And it's okay to have that end of year visionary work for the next year, but also to hone in on the end of year giving, the Giving Tuesday, the 12 days of giving, all of that good stuff, thanking our donors, thanking our community. That's great. But the last pretty much 8 weeks of the year are crazy for fundraisers. We're just chasing our tail. That's how it feels. And I understand that happens every year because we get caught up in the chatter. We get caught up in everything that's around us of what we're hearing from other nonprofits, what we're hearing from fundraisers, from seminars, from scrolling through social media and seeing everybody else is way ahead of what you're doing, which is your perception. It's not the reality. We were all in a 8-week part of last year at the end of the year that was like, what happened this year? We had government shutdown. It was an economically crazy year coming out of 2020 to 2025. I still equate last year to how 2019 was. And when I worked with my nonprofits, they were like, wait a minute, we've lived 5 years from 2019. I'm like, no, we survived 5 years after 2019. What were your 19 goals before 2020 hit? And so I think we have to get out of the reactionary space of fundraising. Now, is that easy? No, it's not easy. And I'm preaching to the choir myself because sometimes I still find myself reactionary. in the nonprofit space. Moving into the new year, let's try to peel off those reactionary layers. Because fundraising is volatile. Economics are volatile. The way our economy works, the way our donors are giving, the way foundations are giving, the way community events are evolving, all of that it's not consistent. The one thing we can be consistent about as fundraising is stewardship. Yeah, I know, right? We need to do like a rah-rah stewardship cheer, because stewardship never stops.
Right.
If you think you have to steward from January 1st to December 31st and then start your stewardship over in January 1st of the next year, then you're literally not giving yourself the opportunity to scale your mission financially. And so that's what I say. One, peel off the reactionary layer, lessen it maybe. I think we're always going to be reactionary in the nonprofit fundraising scope, but also understand that stewardship is year round. It's not a calendar. We live and breathe by this fundraising calendar, quote, 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 quotes. We shouldn't be that way. It should be evolving, and you just have parts of the year that your goals and benchmarks should align with. Does that make a little sense? Maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you touched on a few different topics there that I want to dive into. The first one, so yeah, we just got past end of year, which is it's a lot for fundraisers. So you can oftentimes feel like you're behind moving into January. You let some tasks go and you need to pick things back up, and your plate is just as full as it was 8 weeks ago, right? Uh, what truth do you wish that fundraisers would internalize sooner in the year so that they can make sure that they're focusing on the right things?
The truth should be, what is priority? Priority. And that's one thing we touched on just 5 seconds ago, was stewardship. Stewardship should be a part of your everyday fundraising mythology and psychology. That is when you are consistently storytelling, sharing the impact, thanking your donors. How does that look like? Social media, handwritten letter, newsletter, billboard, having stewardship a part of every program event you have. It's simple, and I think we have a way of, we overcomplicate what stewardship is. Stewardship is relationship building. It's friendship. You steward your friends, you steward your partner, you steward your kids. You actually steward your UPS driver or your mail carrier. At the end of the year, I give cards. I say thank you. I offer a bottle of water when it's 100 degrees in Louisiana and they're delivering my Amazon packages. That's stewardship. So we can't consistently overcomplicate what that word means. It's relationship giving, it's relationship accountability. Second thing I would suggest is, why wait till January 1st to mold your year? You're behind the game. If you can somehow calendar out what are the priorities for the next year, at least a good 8 months before the year starts, then you don't feel like you're behind. We feel like we're always behind. We're always behind the 8 ball. We're always behind somebody else in the first spot. We can't, somebody else regained that dollar, somebody else regained that grant, and it wasn't you. That mindset leaves us in a negative universe that is just a spiral down the rabbit hole. If we can get out of that mindset that it's woe is me as a fundraiser, woe is me as a nonprofit, and say, yes is me as a fundraiser, yes is me as a nonprofit, I think we would feel better about moving into uncharted waters. Because like I said, fundraising is volatile. Development's volatile, economics are volatile. What can you control is the yes is me. And I mean me, not necessarily the fundraiser individually, like me, Erin Davison. Yes is me as far as the mission. And so I think that's the two things I would say that I try to live by. And like I said, it's not easy. I'm learning as I go, but my experience and my gut tells me that if we just simplify what we're overcomplicating because of all the chatter around us, then I think we can feel better about the landscape of what we're doing.
Mm. Yeah, that's so good. Another piece that you touched on is just the feeling that we're always in crisis in our world, especially in America right now. Mm, I know from your bio that you've led through some serious crises, hurricanes, staff transitions, the pandemic. A lot of us have led through that. I'm curious to know how surviving repeated disruption has changed how you plan for the year or how you coach fundraisers to plan for the year.
Going through the economic disaster apocalypse that I went through as a leader allowed me to let go of that chatter, let go of that overcomplicating scenario in my brain, letting go of the expectations I felt others had of me, but they weren't. They were my internal expectations that are just really weird, and they're unforgiving expectations. And so I literally just dove in and understood that I had to drill down in what was priority. Priority was my people, priority was the mission, priority was the organization. And it simplified it in a way that allowed me to let go of those chains and be like, no, I am a leader for a reason. I'm confident in my leadership skills, and I'm going to be able to lead and grow this organization in an apocalypse, basically. And that's where I think we have a tendency to have the imposter syndrome, which I know is really, really valid. And I've read a lot of books about it. I've experienced imposter syndrome. That's internalizing everything that you have as a leader and not confidently moving forward and saying, yes, I can do this. I know how to do this, and I will do this. Because what are your options? I mean, you can't as a leader roll over and just cry. I mean, maybe at home, but you also have to put one step forward, and that's where I think we are right now is we're constantly feeling like we're in a crisis mode because historically that's what quote unquote charities have been stereotypically cast as. No, we're strong businesses.
Mhm.
We're economic drivers. We put money back into the economy, back into systems, back into individuals. And so we have to own it like a business. That's where I'm an outlier. Yes, nonprofit work is the nonprofit, not for profit, but we are a business, not for profit. Flip that mindset.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I think nonprofits, if you can get into the confident feeling that you provide value to your community, to other businesses, that you, like you said, you're feeding, you're putting money back into your community, you're putting values back into your community. I think that completely changes the mindset where you are not asking for money because it's a charity, but you're asking for money as an investment into building out something even better. So I think it's huge to treat things like a business. I think that lends itself into the next question. So, short term pressure for bringing in funds versus long term relationship building. You talked about stewardship being paramount, which I 100% agree. How can fundraisers balance oftentimes what maybe their founder is asking them to get more funds in the door immediately, or the board is? How can they balance that short term pressure with the long term relationship building of stewardship?
It's hard, and I've yet to crack that code, to be honest, because it comes up in often in various different times of your work as a fundraiser. Once you get to a place of sustainability, something comes up because you want to scale it. You want to grow the program. When you come to a point of stability and you're sustaining what you're doing right now, meaning those you're serving, the meals you're providing, the rides you're giving, the mentoring hours, whatever your mission is, once you get to that point of we have 100% funding coming in for 100% of the need. Once you get there, you want more. You want to scale. You want to grow because your mission's never done. You always have more footprint to give and to work through. So once you're there, it's like, oh, wow, now I have to add 50, 5,000 more meals or 200 more rides or 180 more mentoring hours. Well, that equates a dollar. There's always a dollar amount to that. How can we get $30,000 of quick investment to grow in 12 months, basically? Let's put the formula out there. And so that's hard to navigate between a developer fundraiser with the CEO and the board of directors. The first thing I would suggest is your board of directors needs to understand what development fundraising is. So many nonprofit board members don't fully understand. Your leaders may not either if they've never worked in the development fundraising space. Educate them on exactly what development and fundraising, how they're two different arms of your nonprofit mission, but they go hand in hand with what you're doing. So fundraising is bringing in the money, bringing the dollars, your events, your donor campaigns. Fundraising equates immediate dollar in. Development is building the relationship for sustainable, scalable funding. So they're two different arms, but again, they work together. You can't have one without the other. So educate your board on exactly what development fundraising is and stay consistent with that messaging. Bring them into this strategic planning of what that means, whether it's immediate cash flow or a sustainable investment flow. They're two different types of the sides of the coin, but again, they're the same thing. Two, make sure that your leader understands what that means in development fundraising. Because if you have a leader that comes in and says, one, raise your salary and more, which I do not agree with that concept. Your developer is not there to raise their salary. Your developer is there to raise for the organization. So that is something I disagree with completely. Two is they say, go find it, go find more donors, go find more investors. Well, then that's sales. You're selling something. That's not an immediate cash flow. It's the developing part of it. So understand the now is where are your top funders that you already have, and how can you amplify them with strategic, transparent conversations today? If they're giving $10,000 a year investing in your programs, how can you grow that relationship to $15,000 or $20,000 a year with very transparent, sometimes uncomfortable conversations? So that's the immediate. The sustainable growth options is where are you going to go from there with growing in the next 12, 18 months? Where are those fundings and where's that strategy? But again, if not everybody in the organization understands the development and fundraising scape, then I think it's not a healthy, sustainable relationship in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, my father always said as I was growing up that communication is key. And I think that is such a foundational piece because really what you're doing is you're proactively advocating for what it is that you provide to the organization. You're not just saying, yes, I'll do that. What you're requesting, you're saying, this is how my job works, and this is how we develop and nurture and steward donors and future donors. And so I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and if you lean in, I've found in my experience, it's very uncomfortable telling you're having the transparent conversations with your donors and your funders, your grantors, your partners, whatever the verbiage is. It's very uncomfortable to sit here and have the conversation of this is where we are, this is real-time data, this is where the need is, and this is what I need from you. It's hard because you don't want to sound like you're not thriving.
Sure.
But that's okay because you think a for-profit business goes to an angel investor and says, "Hey, my gosh, we're 100% on the ball. We've had 100% growth in our our net sales, and we're in this demand, and we've got all these impressions." Well, that angel investor, is going to be like, "Well, then what do you need me for?
Mm,
If you're already established and you're perfect." That's not what your investors want to hear. They want to be a partner. It's okay.
100%.
Let them in. Let them in. It's okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, and you touched on the importance of storytelling, and what I always say is good storytelling is at the intersection of conflict and hope. You have to be able to talk about the conflict and not sugarcoat it. But you also have to talk about the hope. You have to have the vision of where you're going to head from there, right? And so then that's inviting them into that conversation and that storyline.
Exactly, because storytelling is key. It's what you do every day. It's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're storytelling, with facts, of course, but we're storytelling our experiences and where we both come from in the development fundraising space. And I think what we need to do is really, really consciously make an effort to tell the right story. Meaning, When I was working in the mentoring space, we worked with kids. Kids are not perfect. Okay, they're not going to go from an F to a straight A student with a full ride to college. They're not going to, let's be honest. So what I did with the storytelling is when we had a student that was 5 days truant every week, and within our mentoring program, the first 3 or 4 months were 2 days truant a week. That was a win. That was a very beautiful story of telling truth, of working with youth because they're messy and they're not grown yet. Their brains haven't formed yet. They haven't learned proper responsibility, or they haven't, whatever's going on in their life as a kid. We have to own that and allow them to live in that space. But so I would tell a funder, if you expect this youth we're mentoring to go from an F to an A, and they're not truant at all for the rest of your life, then we're not the program that you probably need to partner with, because that's an unrealistic expectation. But what I can tell you is that this youth went from 5 days truancy every week to 2 days truancy every week, which means he's in class 3 days out of the week. I can't promise he's learning, but I can promise he's in class. So when we reframe that story to tell the truth, which is not always pretty, we want the pretty wrap bow, beautiful rainbow of all the Snapchat filters on our story. Don't put the filter. Don't. Tell the truth, because that partner is going to lean in more because they are seeing what you're doing in real time. But also your vision is to actually get that student to stop being truant. And that's where the mentoring space. So that could be, you have 5,000 meals you're serving. I don't know how many days you need to serve meals, but 5,000 is a lot of meals, but you have a lot of meals to serve. And maybe you didn't serve all 5,000 meals because not 5,000 people showed up. Okay. It's okay. So I think really drilling down and having those conversations, which, like I said, are very uncomfortable, in the long run, the amplification happens.
That's good. All right. I always end with what I call a tactical takeaway, Erin. So question is, what is one thing that every fundraiser should do today that you believe matters most?
Read your emails. That's a funny one because I have like a lot of emails. But takeaway today is shed that January 1 to December 31st calendar in your head. Shed it. It's always going to be there. Every year, January 1st comes around. And every year, January 1st, you're like, oh my gosh, it's the new year. What am I doing? Get rid of that calendar in your head. Work it in an everyday, live it every day. And know that all of us wake up on January 1st and say, oh my gosh, it's a new year. What am I doing today? That's what we need to do today, is let go of that calendar and just live the stewardship life.
Fantastic takeaway, Erin. Thank you so much for sharing your honest, clarity and expertise in this space. You brought a lot of clarity to these fundraisers. Appreciate you.
I appreciate always talking with you. Thank you.
For those listening, if you are curious about how DonorDoc can help you find that clarity and build a strong donor base through smart stewardship, you can visit us at DonorDoc.com. We will see you next week. All right.